crypt doors creak and the tombstones quake. Spooks come out for swinging wake. Happy haunts materialize and begin to vocalize. Grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize. Welcome back to StillerBros at the Movies, where today we are going on a bit of a haunting spree.
Don't lower the bar, we will lower it for you. Okay. So, the Haunted Mansion.
The Haunted Mansion movie. So, the Haunted Mansion is one of Disney's most celebrated attractions.
It has been widely regarded as one of Disney's more cinematic attractions at the park, and it is just another one of those rides that is wholly original to the park as an attraction, with a story that is just dripping with potential that not a lot of people know, just because the ride doesn't actually tell you the story.
The ride doesn't spoon feed you the story. If you go deep into its lore, you'll see things like the haunts. The name of the mansion is Gracie Manor. The fact that the skeleton above in the stretching room has a sailor's uniform on, but you don't know anything because the Haunted Mansion does not tell you explicitly anything.
So obviously, when Disney was going to pull the trigger on making movies out of the attractions at Disneyland, this was one of the things that was on the list. And then they made a Haunted Mansion project.
2 years ago, it was called Muppets Haunted Mansion, and that was the only movie that they ever made of Haunted Mansion.
And they also did some weird bullshit with Eddie Murphy 20 years ago, but we're not talking about that.
So, it was a lot of people's hope after the Eddie Murphy fiasco that even Eddie Murphy admits was a big mistake and really bad. But it was a lot of people's hope that Disney would try to give it a second go-around. Enter a Haunted Mansion fanboy and horror movie extraordinaire, Guillermo del Toro.
Then that movie pretty much went into development hell for about 10 years, and then finally they pulled the trigger on something else, on this thing, which is directed by Dear White People and Bad Hair director Justin Simien, and written by Katie Dippold, who is primarily known for movies The Heat and Ghostbusters 2016.
And you just kind of wonder where Disney is going with this. Well, you know where they're going with this is that the Pirates of the Caribbean movies made a lot of money. Jungle Cruise, who's a couple of years ago, made way more money than they were expecting in pandemic times with a movie that they had reshot like 3 times.
Yeah, but based on the timing of this, it's more than likely that Jungle Cruise's success made them fully pull the trigger on this movie. But it is an interesting... But everything about this movie is very interesting, just because it doesn't seem like the first thing you would think of. Justin Simien, of course, previously directed Bad Hair, a horror movie, which I know absolutely nothing about. I don't even think I've watched a trailer for.
And Katie Dippold did write Ghostbusters 2016, so a horror comedy of sorts, even though Ghostbusters 2016 leaned more on the comedy than the horror, but it was a ghost movie. And now the Haunted Mansion movie, a movie that is probably attempting to do what movies like The Nightmare Before Christmas and Beetlejuice attempted to do, where we create a world where children are allowed to be scared with family-friendly horror comedy content.
Yes, granted this is PG-13, but still, we have an all-star cast this time around, bringing it up.
It's not just like, oh, let's get Eddie Murphy to star in it, and we'll get like Terrence Stamp to play the evil butler. It's Rosario Dawson, Owen Wilson, Lakeith Stanfield,
Danny DeVito, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jared Leto.
Yeah. Apparently, Jared Leto is such a weird casting that it's weird that they even picked him, because he's almost unrecognizable in the role. Jared Leto is a complicated figure. Yes. We're not going to go too deep into it because it's very, very complicated. He's not a good
we don't know all the details, really.
But he's made it abundantly clear that he is not a good person, and we should probably continue to ignore everything he does to the degree we can. Unfortunately, he is still attached to the new Tron movie, so Well, I don't know what to do.
We don't know. All we're saying is we don't know much about the Jared Leto stuff. We know he's not as bad as Ezra Miller when it comes to the cult shits.
But we know he's apparently got a cult island with his band. I liked Kings and Queens. That is what I will say about that.
But yeah, the whole, even from what we do know about the Suicide Squad crap, it's but we're not going to be talking about Jared Leto. We're talking about a different movie, which is this movie.
And just judging by the trailers alone, this movie seems to get the Haunted Mansion from a certain perspective. It seems to be built on comedy. It's comedy with horror elements. It does kind of the brilliant thing in one point of actually having a chair shaped like one of the Doom buggies up here in the movie,
as well as casting Jamie Lee friggin' Curtis as Madame Leota, which was just perfect casting the second it was announced.
I mean, you could have cast Jamie Lee Curtis as a chair, and it would have been perfect casting in this movie.
Jamie Lee Curtis is a fucking icon.
And it's just amazing that this movie is even getting made in certain respects, because it's like, why? Like, they didn't, well, because it's like they tried to make this movie 20 years ago. It failed spectacularly, and now here we are doing it again, running with it, hoping that it will be good.
It almost makes you wonder that if this does well, maybe they'll try for the Country Bears, and yeah, that might, maybe don't try for that one.
Yeah, and of course the fact that they were also trying Space Mountain and Tower of Terror and various other projects
in various stages of development with various actors and writers and directors attached to them.
I mean, 3 years ago they said they were making a Disney Plus series out of a piece of minor Disney park lore that they had been working on for years, and we don't know if they're going to actually pull the trigger on that right now because they kind of canceled the creators' show.
There's a lot of stuff. There is a lot of stuff going on but then again, there's a lot of stuff going on right now because once again, as we've mentioned multiple times in the videos past, we are currently in the middle of a entertainment world recession because of the fact that we're in the middle of a fucking strike of actors and writers.
You're not seeing this yet because we don't want to scab. But when we're recording this, it's the middle of the SAG-AFTRA and Writers Guild strikes of 2023.
Yes, we are not so all the videos we've shot are not come out at the time we are recording this because we're not don't want to fucking scab on the off chance that we
even by accident we don't want to scab.
Yes, but so yeah, but it's this movie obviously was affected by that, where the premiere was only really attended by the director and a few crew members, with Disney walk-around characters basically acting as these celebrities to be photographed.
As for what we overall think the movie's going to be, I mean, they already made the movie out of what might be my favorite Disney park attraction, and it was the best Disney park movie of all time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to think. And honestly, Haunted Mansion's up there, but I don't know what to think yet. It seems like it's gonna be a fun ride. Owen Wilson's at his peak. We just finished binging Always Sunny like 3 months ago. For the first time, all the way through, and so we're kind of on a big kick for where we want to see more of Danny DeVito doing his Danny DeVito stuff.
Especially since the new season just wrapped last week, and we are kind of in a deficit.
So, yeah. Haunted Mansion looks fun. Reviews are kind of rough on it, but I don't know what we're going to go in and see.
People whose opinions we trust are saying that they liked it.
So, I think we'll like it, maybe? I don't know. Guess we'll see after the jump. So, I don't know what to think of that. It was good. It was fine.
Yeah, nothing... It was nothing spectacular. It was a perfectly harmless family movie.
Yeah, it's not ridiculously scary. It's got some really good laughs in it, mostly from Owen Wilson. But I don't know if I'd call it the spectacular movie of the year. your best movie, OMG, best movie ever.
This is a very serviceable film. A good way to spend an evening.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that mostly puts this above the Eddie Murphy version was the fact that this one actually feels the need to have a theme bigger than be a family man, and don't do even the minorest of shortcuts in your Hudson diversions from your family vacation.
Really, the overarching theme is grief.
And to the point that literally Jared Leto's character constantly talks about how he feeds on it.
And it's a good theme. I mean, we are definitely in the mindset of grief is something that is, especially in events this year, we know just what the effects of grief can have on people over the course of a long time.
The weird thing is, I feel like Ghostbusters Afterlife was a little bit better on that, or at least better in the fact that it made me that I kind of felt something here. Here, I definitely felt the hits. I definitely felt tears welling up at an appropriate moment, but I don't know if it really resonated as much with me as it intended. It's not as emotionally resonant as it is, but it's not the movie's fault. I just think it's one of those things where if it hits you at the right moment, if you're in the right moment, it might hit you the right way. And so let's talk about it. Lakeith Stanfield is clearly deep into it as the de facto hero of this movie.
He is the standout. He has a great performance. He has a moment where he's giving this monologue and you legitimately feel the emotion he is conveying through this moment.
And I really liked Tiffany Haddish as this half charlatan, half legitimate medium, where sometimes she's even trying to convince herself that she has actually got some kind of magical gift with ghosts.
This is not like a Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost situation where she's a charlatan and then suddenly she realizes that all the BS she's been selling is true.
It's very much a case of she kind of realizes she has this power, but she doesn't realize. But she's so unsure of herself that she doesn't realize that she can do it.
It's a different take on the trope, which is very welcome.
And like I said, Owen Wilson probably got the most laughs out of me because his shtick basically being the innocent one.
Yeah, and Danny DeVito, of course, is has some pretty good comedy punches as well, but. He's there mostly for just some comedic effects of the old guy.
And while Rosario Dawson was one of the first people announced in this, and is the one in the State Farm commercials that have been playing before every movie for like the last month, she's not in this movie, or at least not as central a character as you would believe.
Yeah, that might be part of it, is that we're not focusing on the victim, the people that are being haunted. We're focusing a lot on Lakeith Stanfield's character and his journey in this particular movie,
which isn't bad. We have to focus on the fact that his character's grief is a big part of the emotional journey of these characters. But then there's also the fact that, and also there's a twist with Rosario Dawson's and her character and her son that it probably needs to be played close to the vest in order to actually work. And when it comes to setting a payoff, when it comes to Katie Dippold's scripts, this one is a little bit better than Ghostbusters 2016 in the fact that when a character actually talks about a ghost encounter they once had, it actually comes back around.
Yeah.
Whereas in Ghostbusters 2016, Kristen Wiig had that entire backstory about why she believes in ghosts and why and this ghost old lady that just never comes around. It's just there because
she needed a tragic backstory.
But that never comes back around. Here they remember, okay, here's how a movie script is supposed to be structured. Let's wrench in this and then bring it back in some capacity.
Yes. And then just kind of holding it together is Jamie Lee Curtis. Well, not holding it together, but in a sort of extended cameo appearance, we have Jamie Lee Curtis, who is just loving the hell out of every second she is on screen.
And at one point, they go on to this weird detour with a couple of cameos that just kind of come out of nowhere. They're fun because they're there,
and it's especially fun actors.
But it just kind of feels like a weird detour that comes from nowhere and goes nowhere. I guess both of these actors just had a free weekend and they were like, "Hey, can you show up?"
I mean, one of them has one of them has a movie that will be coming to Netflix soon, and the other one has their show on hold until the writers and actors are back back to work.
But now I guess we got to get on to Jared Leto. Why are you here?
There is no reason for him to be Jared Leto. We basically know for a fact that Jared Leto was brought in the 13th hour because it's fairly obvious he's not on set. I didn't even get a good look at the characters at points to see him if he's played by Jared. If there's any Jared Leto in him.
I legitimately think that most of the animation, when it came to motion capture, it's designed to look more like the Hatbox Ghost from the ride instead of the Hatbox Ghost instead of anything Jared Leto resembling. And he's not even doing his real voice. He's doing like a deep, growly British accent that they could have just called Benedict Cumberbatch for if they wanted to.
They probably could have, but he probably cost more money than Jared Leto.
Which is weird, because as an Oscar winner, Jared Leto should probably cost more than a non-Oscar winner.
Then again, Jared Leto seems a little more... It's also weird because Jared Leto seems to be a little more picky with his movies, or at least he did, until it was Morbid time.
But why are you here? Why did you do this? Why did you pick him? It's not because Tron 3 was officially canceled and they needed to get rid of you for some reason.
Tron 3 is back in development. They're eventually going to probably have a script together when again all of this is over.
It's just why Jared Leto of all the people you could have picked.
You could have picked a slightly less controversial actor.
I hear Ezra Miller's available.
No, they are not.
Right. Rehab,
and they actually have been arrested for a lot of the bad shit they have done.
Anyway, back to the goods. I kind of liked the fact that the music kept calling back to Grinning Ghosts.
Along with a bunch of other stuff from the ride. All the callbacks in the ride are so intricately put in and so fun. And it makes sense because a fun fact about Justin Simeon is that he used to work at the Haunted Mansion as a cast member.
It goes from everything from the chains that separate the lines in the queue showing up, the candelabras, the stretching room scene is set up very early on before it actually cuts in. The only thing missing is the no windows, no doors.
The dueling ghosts are there. We have the bus. We have all the paintings we have all of the paintings.
Oh my god, they didn't put the singing bus in.
No, they didn't. They just had the ones that move.
Yeah.
That was a weird one. I mean, they had the groundskeeper, but he was a ghost, not a person.
Yeah, I guess they just feel like there's no way to get the groundskeeper into these Haunted Mansion movies, so they just kind of put him in as a ghost. They did that with the last one. They did that with this one.
Yeah, we also have the hitchhiking ghosts, which is a thing which they move into the lore of the movie.
In fact, there's a lore reason that there are 999 ghosts in the mansion, which I thought was really fun and a really fun way to build on the ride. And of course, Gracie once again being brought in as a somewhat tragic character.
Although this time around, he's not so much a unknowing villain, and he is just ignorant, just kind of ignorant and
he's desperately tragic.
He's a desperately tragic figure in the film.
Who the Hatbox Ghost kind of manipulates for his own gain, and of course, when we finally do get to see the famed ballroom scene from the original Haunted Mansion ride, they take the very interesting choice to shoot it in a way that mirrors the ride directly when you see it.
From the overlook, shooting from the overlook down onto the ballroom as the ghosts are dancing around.
It's a very fun little Easter egg to the ride, and this is just it's a fun movie. I wouldn't call it groundbreaking. It's not Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not the Jungle Cruise, but it's a fairly serviceable movie. And if they decide to sequelize it, I wouldn't object to it. But for right now, it's just kind of fine.
I mean, if you really want to have fun at the movies, go see Barbie again.
Yeah. Or, you could just watch it on video by now, depending on when this video actually is public.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. We don't know. Again, as we've said multiple times, we don't know when at this point.
But yeah, the Haunted Mansion is fine. It's not the best Disney movie based on a theme park attraction, and it's not the absolute bottom of the barrel movie based on a theme park attraction. It's fine. Yeah. You'll have fun with it.
Yeah.
But for right now, I've got nothing else to say, so I guess that's it for right now. Now, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave in the comments what you thought of the Haunted Mansion 2023. I have to make that clear. And don't forget to tune in next time when, I don't know, we'll figure it out.